You started writing for big band in high school, and you studied classical composition in
Yeah.
college and began writing for the Vanguard during your first tenure there.
Yeah.
I know Blue Note was the third tune you wrote, and it's recorded on the album Live at the Village Vanguard. Um,
Yeah.
you previously called the first tune you wrote dreadful. What was it?
The first one is called None But. One T, B-U, none, N-O-N, I should declare None-B-U-T dot, dot, dot. I was thinking of None But the Brave, and I thought, well, I'll just make it None But. If you spell it differently, it takes on a whole new meaning. So I brought it in, and it was overwritten. That was back in the days when, I was still, if I'm honest with myself, what I was doing, I was writing piano music and transferring it to a score pad, so there'd be, I was just thinking of ranges. Oh, this is in the range of da-da-da, so I'll give it to them. And there was, I'm sure there was some kind of line like that, and thinking, oh, that's all in the range of the trumpets, I'll give it to them. It's some of the typical, although I had written big band music in college, this was still this kind of what I call typical piano player's first big band chart kind of mistake, where this thing you can whip out, without batting an eyelash on the piano. Say, oh, that's in the range of these guys. I'll give it to them. So I just remember it was horrible. But Bob was encouraging about a couple of sections. He said, that section there, I looked at it, it shouldn't sound good, but it does, and the main thing he said was write another one. Wow. So, coming from him, that was pretty cool. So that's when I wrote Las Cucarachas Entran, which means the roaches check in. It was taken from back in the 80s. There was the Black Flag Roach Motel, and the Spanish subway signs with Las Cucarachas Entran, pero no pueden salir. The roaches check in, but they can't check out. So I was writing this kind of a Latinish tune, and I trying to think of. I think I was riding the A train one day and saw that sign. Okay, I'll use that. And that was a little better. We played it on tour, and but there were things I didn't like about it. But then the band actually recorded it about 6 years ago. They did, or 7 or 8 years ago. It's live at the Vanguard on Monday night at the Vanguard. And by that time, I found the score and I sent it to Chris Byers, who put it all into Finale, because I realized what the people had been playing before that were Xeroxes of my pencil copies of the parts. They couldn't read one of the reasons it sounded so bad was they couldn't read it. And all of a sudden we played it one night with the new parts. Wow, hey, this is not bad, and I had this image of the me of 1983 or whatever, and I was patting him on the head saying, kid, you weren't so bad back then. Just having the right, having legible parts is important. Just having the right, having legible parts is important.
That's the hardest thing about playing in the Vanguard.
Yeah.
I've only subbed a couple of handful of times, but the music, there's so much that is not on the page.
Yeah.
And or missing chunks of the page.
I know, it's like the Dead Sea Scrolls. I mean, you try to extrapolate what the rest of the line would be because the last two beats of the bar are missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my entire career, that's probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do was sub at the Vanguard in New York.
Yeah.
I have massive amounts of respect for people that do it.
At the bottom of the piano book, there are several little shards of paper that is all that's left of a couple of the tunes. If they ever want to play them again, I don't know how they're going to, there's not going to be a piano part, you know, they just disintegrated. But then, yeah, and then, but then I wrote Blue Note. That was the third one. And that was, Mel liked it and he recorded it. So that was kind of, and by that time I had left the band. Kenny Werner was playing, and they did, the recording sessions were from midnight to 6. Because number one, all the guys playing shows could do it. And they got a deal. There was I forget the name of the studio. It was on 57th Street. It was right near where the old BMI used to be. And they could get a cheaper rate if they were doing it, you know, midnight to 6. So Mel saved a little money, and I remember I came to that session, and they were playing my chart, and I was sitting in the booth thinking, you know, I really like it in here. I'd rather be in here than out there. There's something about just hearing a band play my thing and, you know, kind of steering the recording process, but not actually having to play the piano. I could concentrate more on the big picture. You know, when you're just playing the piano part, it's still, you got to focus on what you're doing, and it's hard to get a sense of what's going on over the whole band.